Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Coffee Break, and I am back. And I forgot to put up all the overlay stuff. There we go. There we go. I am Coffee Break, and I am back with our second DrewBie game for the night. So we do have Complexities DrewBie spawning here on the right side here on Shattered Temple. And on the top side, we do have Complexities RSVP, which it does look like this was just a random happenstance that they managed to pick each other up on a ladder game. As it is red versus blue, and they were talking about fate and all sorts of crazy stuff that you do not want to mess with. Both these players, teammates obviously, both on Complexity. RSVP, a little bit of a lesser known player, which is a shame because his ProToss play is very, very strong. And I've seen a few of his games. A very good player, fairly well-mannered as well. And I know that he does like to play in a lot of lesser online tournaments, a lot of lower online tournaments. Kind of a good guy all around. And he also normally makes a pretty good run in the brackets, in the open brackets at MLG. So he's definitely a good ProToss player, somebody who's certainly going to be giving DrewBie a run for his money. And DrewBie, I mean, we saw a little bit of him in the last game versus Liquid Cheth. If you have not seen that already, go check that out. I will not go ahead and give any spoilers of that game. I would just say that Cheth and DrewBie both played very well. Cheth had kind of an interesting strategy, and not something that's completely abnormal, but something you see a little bit less of. DrewBie did some things that you see a little bit less of, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I would expect Complexities RSVP to do some sort of one-gate expansion, as that is definitely the metagame right now for ProToss players. However, you can still go ahead and do that one-base Colossus play that is still pretty dang popular. And I've even seen from time to time an Immortal bust still when Terran players fast expand, but I doubt that'll be coming as, well, our Terran player did not fast expand. Do have the wall going off at the top of the ramp for DrewBie. This is something I don't actually like seeing a lot in TvP or TvT, just because it does. I just don't feel like it does all that much. You normally don't get, a bunch of fast scouts into your base that can do any sort of damage in either of those two matchups. The reason you do it once again in TvT is just to stop the Zerglings from running into the main and harassing you for hours on end. And especially if he's just going to be lying down this expansion right here. I mean, once again, these are just buildings that I feel can be sniped from the low ground without any real repercussion from DrewBie if RSVP so decided to do so. Do have a Stalker being chrono boosted out here, a second Stalker on the way as well. Warp Gate is also on the way. Only one gas as of now, though, that I really feel that indicates that we will be seeing an expansion fairly shortly out of RSVP. In the meantime, just pushing down a little bit with the Zealot, seeing what he can see. And he sees 3 Marines and not much else. I think he saw this bunker, which just does kind of show that there's going to be a command center here. However, RSVP cannot be certain about that. Needs to be careful here not to take any real damage on his units. And now these Marines flooding out, trying to be able to do a little bit of damage to that Stalker, but no. Very nice control by RSVP, pulling that back at the last moment, kiting those Marines very, very well. The expansion is now pretty much completed for DrewBie. In the meantime, RSVP just kind of starting to get his up at this point in time. And really how you execute this, you get the gateway, get the cyber around 26 to 30. You want to lay down your nexus, and then generally you'll see 3 additional gateways laid down. Sometimes you'll see a couple gateways and a robo. The robo is very important, though. You need to get that fairly quickly, as we do see RSVP doing so here, and the reason for that is if DrewBie decided to go Cloaked Banshees, build order win. I mean, it'll just rip RSVP apart. There will be nothing for detection. But once again, we are going to want to see some gateways being dropped down fairly soon, as the production power for a little bit here. I mean, this is a very, very vulnerable time for our ProToss player. And DrewBie, I mean, DrewBie is obviously not set to do any sort of crazy huge any crazy huge aggressive play himself, as he did fast expand. However, I mean, it's something that always needs to be in the back of your mind just to be safe about it. Sometimes you'll see players save up chrono boosts just so that they chrono boost their warp gates a lot once an attack does start coming. I'm kind of baffled that neither of the players has taken the center watchtower, as really, why not? especially when you just have these Marines here. You could kill off this probe and just take the watchtower, easy peasy for free. Not really lose anything out of that. Couple of Marauders coming out now from Drewbie, and it does look like he has double tech lab, getting stim and concussive shells at the same time, as well as a reactor barracks, and not really laying much else down at the moment. I would expect to see maybe a little bit of pressure coming out of him with this sort of build. However, it's not required, and in fact, he could totally just lay down a factory or a starport, whatever he really feels like it, and just kind of sit back and relax for a little bit, macro up. And we did see him macro up quite a bit in the previous game, so I really wouldn't be surprised to see him do that. Instead, dropping a Ghost Academy now, so I would definitely say we're going to be seeing a timing push as soon as we have a couple of EMPs ready. I would assume, I would think Drewbie will be moving out. Observer is going to get into the base of Drewbie, pretty much see everything there is to see. Maybe not in this Ghost Academy, though. That is hidden very nicely up in a little bit of a corner. Drewbie is pushing out to the center of the map right now, and not scouting up. RSVP is not going to be seeing that Ghost Academy right now. That's kind of a big deal. And it does look like Drewbie is going to be pushing up here, going to try to do a little bit of damage. We do have a single Immortal on the way, double Forge finishing up right now as well. And now you see that Chrono Boost going down on all those Warp Guides. That is exactly what I was talking about. RSVP could be in a little bit of trouble here. This is a very scary push. The stim and concussive shells can do quite a bit of damage, but no seeing the army. Drewbie does decide to fall back for just a little bit, but he once again does have two ghosts on the way. And with EMP, that could just pretty much shatter this army, as there will be no force fields and a lot less shields to contend with. And obviously the Immortal, pretty much built for those shields, has that 1 armor and 200 health. I mean, it has a lot of health, but its real focus is that shield that it has. Neither player really having any sort of income advantage, and actually sitting in pretty much even, 45-45 for a few moments there. Now we do have these two ghosts in the army ready to push back in. Drewbie is sitting in a fairly good position. EMP's just now ready right as he is approaching the ramp. Very, very nice timing by him in that right. Taking out one of those sentries without even using an EMP first. Now just kind of running around, gets one EMP off on 2 of those sentries. There's only 1 sentry left with any energy, but it is not much. And now RSVP forced to pull all the probes. And Drewbie just doing so much damage to these Marauders, tearing the Starkers apart, stimming up one just to finish off the forces of RSVP, taking out of that cannon immediately as it finished up. Even enough energy left for one more EMP. Very, very nice control by Drewbie to be able to get the majority of the sentries, keep that ghost alive just long enough to EMP what mattered most. We do have 1 sentry on the top of this ramp here, ready to try to hold off any sort of attack coming up the ramp. However, it does look like Drewbie is going to go ahead, fall back, count his losses, count his wins, more like it than not, and just be happy to continue on for the rest of the game here. He's sitting in a very, very nice position. Dark Shrine on the way. We did just see a Warp Prison complete there. So what do you do when you are behind in any matchup as a Protoss player? You make DTs. There are actually a lot of players out there that are a little bit upset with the way DTs work. I myself am actually one included in that. It doesn't look like I set myself on busy here. Go away. We do have 3 Zealots and a Zealot. 3 sentries and a Zealot moving out in this Warp Prism, coming over to the main base of Drewbie. Probably going to force field off this ramp and try to stop the army from coming up to defend. It's going to be kind of a close call. He needs to get that force field down on the ramp, and in not quite the right placement. There are a few units squeezing up the ramp. Forces a second force field. However, 2 of the sentries are going to die now, and now that 3rd sentry did get EMP'd and it goes down as well. This attack is a fail, and there is the GG from Complexity to RSVP. That was a last-ditch effort by him to try to do a little bit of damage. Had the potential to, but just was not quite able to get the force fields in the right position. Lost a couple of sentries, and then lost his final force fieldable sentry to that EMP. Very, very nice game by Drewbie, going with a little bit of 3 racks pressure, just adding on more and more racks, adding in a Ghost Academy just to get those EMPs down, and able to take a win in the 2nd game of Drewbie Night here. So we are going to go on to our final matchup, which is going to be Drewbie versus, I believe, a player called Drunken Boy. That is going to be our TvT matchup for the night. But until I'm ready to go ahead and do that, this is Coffee Break, signing out.